All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Nonprofit Enthusiasts Live. We are so happy to have you tune in today as we continue this month's conversation on leadership and board development and Nonprofit 101. Today, I'm so excited to be joined by Miss Cindy Stanford with ACES Matter. Hey, Cindy. And if you are tuning in, go ahead and invite your friends to the Facebook group. If they're not in it, tag them into this conversation. You definitely don't want to miss out as we talk about adverse childhood experiences, why it's important to nonprofit leaders to be aware of it, and also for their teams. So you definitely don't want to miss out on this conversation as we continue talking about leadership, board development, Nonprofit 101, and all of that today. So please go ahead, tag your friends. If you're catching this on replay, give us a hashtag replay. We love to know that you are able to tune in and catch this information. So while we wait, let us know that you're here. Drop us a hey, how you doing? So we know that you are here. And we're gonna go ahead and get started. Cindy, I am so excited to have you back on Nonprofit Enthusiast Live. How is it going?
I'm feeling like a regular. Am I on the live?
Yes.
I don't see my face
Oh, what happened?
Facebook.
Oh, you know what it is? Give me 1 second. It's the view. You are on the live, but it's on.
Hey, I can see myself. Hey, Mom, I'm on TV. Oh, now it's just me.
Wait, we switched it.
Okay.
Hold on, give me a second.
Hey, there we go. I see it. I see it.
Love it. Thank you for pointing that out. So glad to have you here as usual.
I'm glad to be back. I feel like nonprofit enthusiasts represented by none other than Miss Lashina Williams. You have been a true advocate in this conversation. Like, I'm glad to be back. It definitely encourages me to keep doing what I'm doing, even when, you know, there's a lot of noise in the background, like people don't want to hear about this, right? And I really am grateful that you showing up and you're proving that you can do well in a nonprofit, and you can do even better when you understand trauma when you're in a nonprofit.
And I love it. And then one of the things, and you all know me, once I know about something, everybody's gonna know about it. And this is one of those things. I truly believe that it's important for us to know our own adverse childhood experiences, so we can be better nonprofit enthusiasts, nonprofit professionals serving the nonprofit community. Because a lot of us work with very sensitive populations that if we don't understand, it can affect the way that we deliver our services. So that's why not only just us as leaders need to know about it, but also it needs to trickle throughout the entire organization. So that's what we're going to talk about today, especially while you're coming up with your training plans for 2023. This is something that I truly believe that you need to include in it to make sure that your organization and those within your organization are trauma aware and trauma informed. So we're going to talk more about that today. But once again, Cindy, thank you for joining us. So let's kick it off with talking a little bit about, so ACES Matter is a nonprofit. So let's talk about how you got into this space of this journey into nonprofit, and then tell us a little bit about ACES Matter.
Okay, so for those that I have not had a chance to meet that are on the virtual today, I'm Cindy Stanford with Adverse Childhood Experiences Matter, ACES Matter for short. My journey with this nonprofit started on May the 27th of 2020, right there with COVID. I had no idea what I was doing, but when I learned about the Adverse Childhood Experience Study, again, ACES for short, it had been around since like the late 90s. And when I saw the magnitude of how many people are affected as adults because of the stuff that happened in their childhood, I was like, this is a community issue, right? And so I started the nonprofit again, that's how you and I met. I was like, I'm going to start a nonprofit and I don't know what I'm doing. So I started following all these Facebook groups. I ran into you. I ran into Elizabeth. I was like, so what you do first? You can read some stuff and file some paperwork. And that part was real easy, right? But again, the journey to be a nonprofit evolved from the George Floyd and Derek Chauvin incident. That kind of like pushed it. Although I was in 2020 learning about my own childhood adversities, when that George Floyd and Derek Chauvin tragedy happened on May the 25th, I'm gonna say the heavens was just like, it wasn't just Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, blue lives matter. If you remember that, remember how divided it was? All lives matter, Black lives matter, blue lives matter, and then white lives matter. And then a couple days after George Floyd had passed, and I had been learning about the ACEs study, I woke up and I was like, their ACEs matter. The only reason why George Floyd is no longer with us today, this is my opinion, so just for whoever decides to quote this, the only reason why George Floyd is not with us today is because that police department that Derek Chauvin worked for, in my opinion, they were not trauma aware, nor were they trauma informed. Because had they been trauma aware or trauma informed, as we know with all the situations that we've seen both on camera and even those that we have not seen on camera, people respond to fear based on their programming from their childhood. Derek Chauvin, according to Google, because y'all know Google keep all the receipts, right? According to Google, Derek Chauvin had issues as a child. He was doing mean things to animals as a child, according to Google, right? The divorce happened, which is an ACE. His mom and daddy broke up. So y'all know, for many of us that had the privilege of having a dad in the home, and then for whatever reason, mama and daddy didn't get along and the divorce happened, Derek Chauvin experienced that. And then my guess is going to be, when that situation happened when he was a child, he probably didn't get the support that he needed from daddy and mama breaking up. Allegedly, mama had a baby daddy away from, I mean, it was just a lot of trauma that Derek Chauvin, the police officer with the badge and the gun, who was there to protect and serve, never got the help he needed in childhood. So somebody gave him a gun. Now, when he interacts with somebody like George Floyd, who he is disgusted by, his reactions towards George Floyd, who also had traumas. George Floyd grew up in poverty. Mom was a single mom. George Floyd witnessed the light of violence, and all these things that I'm naming are things that this CDC study calls adverse childhood experiences. So with George Floyd observing and witnessing all that he witnessed in the third wards of Houston and the other places that he lived, George Floyd's childhood would then predict how he would handle stress and fear as an adult. And guess what George Floyd decided to do? What the study said on the shelf, that children who have a lot of childhood adversities are going to find something to calm their nervous system. And George Floyd, unfortunately, found drugs and alcohol and crime and all that other kind of stuff, right? And so when George Floyd and Derek Chauvin come together, what this study told us is it was a toxic cocktail waiting to happen. However, people who actually get into this and want to become trauma aware, which just means I heard of it. Trauma aware means I heard of it. When you become informed, you make decisions based on what you know. When you're aware, you just say, oh shit, stuff is just bad, right? So what the CDC and all these other smart researchers have told us, if you don't do something about it in childhood, get the people the support that they need, then they're ultimately going to become adults who need services to help them meet their basic needs. Okay, that's one side of the adults. And then the other one where this became a community issue, Lashina, is that I got into it because I realized I wasn't necessarily needing the government or any other entity to help me meet my basic needs. I had the skills, I had the degrees, I got the job, but I couldn't get along with anybody in the workplace. I couldn't get along with anybody in the workplace. I was one of those people, Lashina, that they call the union representative.
Mhm.
I was always looking out for the little people. Like, why are they treating people like this? I would stand up for people. I would go to the boss and be like, you can't be talking to people like that. And I'm without a job, right? So
Mhm.
um, I ended up getting into the work when I realized, crap, here I am with my 6-figure salary, with my 3 degrees and all this education. What is it? Why is it that I easily get stressed? Why is it that because I'm holding on to my stress at work and trying not to flip my lid, as they call it, I knew I needed to do something about it. So that's the long version of it, and encouraging people who are in the field of getting into the nonprofit work. And I don't pretend to know it all, but what I can say is I know a lot. I know enough to be dangerous with this information. And it would be beneficial for anybody that works with adults that have experienced trauma to do the bare minimum and become aware of it. That's the bare minimum. And that number is huge when we talk about the number of people who have childhood adversity. So if you run a nonprofit, and let's say your nonprofit employs 10 people, if your nonprofit employs 10 people, according to the research, at least 6 of your 10 employees have these things called ACEs. And if you run a nonprofit and you have 10 people employed, if according to the research, at least one of those 10 people had a really crappy childhood. And I bet you don't even know about it. You just looking at how they behave at work. So yeah, I hope that was, that's an abbreviated version, but you can see how passionate I am about, bringing people to information so that they can not just be better service to others, but really be better service to themselves. Because unfortunately, there are a lot of people that don't have any interest in becoming trauma aware. And guess what? We're going to run into them. And when you go from being trauma aware to trauma informed, stay with me. You went from like hearing about ACEs and knowing like, hey, something ain't right. That's the trauma aware part. But when you become trauma informed, when somebody snap on you, when somebody cuts you off in traffic, somebody steals your grocery cart, or you get a call from the school and the school says, come get your kid because they just keep behaving and we suspending them for 3 days. When you become trauma informed, you then know how to respond to situations that feel like they're out of your control. That seems like a win-win.
Yeah.
How you feel? I'm dropping
feeling good. You know, every time,
but I can't look.
I'm telling y'all, every time Cindy comes on, like, and just talks about adverse childhood experiences, I'm just like, who else need to know about this? So we all need to be aware and move into that phase of informed. Really quick, Cindy, I'm gonna go over to the chat box, and then I want to come back and let's continue the conversation on ACEs Matter, and then we'll wrap up with the board and leadership. Since we're right here, let's just keep on going. So let me really quick just go over to the chat box. Hey everyone, how are you doing? Good morning, Shay. Good morning, Melody. Thank you for tuning in. Hey, Tanya, thank you for tuning in. Tanya said, that's me, I can relate. And then we have
let's have a drink on that.
Right.
Coffee or something.
Yep. Hey, Sarah, thank you for tuning in. Sarah said, yes, this is a major point and as a whole needs to be shared. We work closely with children who all have experienced extreme level of ACEs. And Melody said, preach, Cindy, and thank you, Tanya. I hope I got that right. Tanya, and I'm sorry about that. Thank you, Tanya, for turning, and I hope I did it right. Tanya, for tuning in. I appreciate you for tuning in. So let's continue the conversation. So really, you all, as we kind of go through this conversation, just think about who do you know around you, or maybe it's you yourself that's not aware of ACEs. Right now, we're just kind of going at a very brief level and overview of it. But guess what? We have these awareness parties we've been hosting, and we're going to go ahead and drop that link in the chat box. you definitely should register. And the cool thing about it is these awareness parties, which you typically have to pay for, or even if it's not you, someone typically has to, pay for, is offered to you all at no cost, absolutely free. What does that mean? You can fill up these awareness parties. You can come to get educated on it. You could share it with your whole team. You could share it with your whole board. You could share. We're not limiting you. And it's online. It's on these particular ones we're hosting is on Zoom. All they got to do is come, relax, and ready just to learn more about ACEs Matter and ACEs as a whole. So go ahead and we'll go ahead and drop that link into the chat box. Strongly encourage you to share the information. If let's say you need to come back and grab the info, we also have it on our event page in the group as well, where you can go and register. So definitely register for these conversations. You don't want to miss out on it. And this is the first step for your organization, for you, if you're not, to become trauma aware, and then what you do with that information so that you can become trauma informed. And I'll tell you from my experience, there are funders that require you to go through trainings around adverse childhood experiences, trauma informed funders that know the importance of, and trauma aware funders that know the importance of ACEs, and it's important to nonprofits, the community as a whole, in order to provide services and better operate. So I'm just telling you all that because, yes, we have these awareness parties, but take the information. Let's see how you can help create a trauma-informed atmosphere. So let's continue, Cindy. I'm gonna hand it back over to you, but I just really want to make sure that people understand we're hosting these parties. Just come hang with us. Learn more about ACEs, bring your friends, or you could call it, you could have something at your house. I even thought about that. You have several people, or even at your office. Hey guys, we're going to attend this awareness party. Turn your Zoom on and, have your chips and your dips and whichever, and just tune in and just learn about ACEs and start that conversation. And that's something we're encouraging, is to do these group parties, these awareness parties. When we host these, invite others to wherever you are to tune in with you, so you all can start that conversation. So, all right, that's my pitch. I just want to make sure. Thank you.
You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. I don't need to do nothing. We just gonna wait for registration. So again, Lashina is right in that I needed to find a creative way to get people to come to the conversation, because when people think about talking about trauma, it's like, I could just watch I could just turn it on Shy, or I could go watch Real Housewives of Atlanta if I want to see trauma. But no, like, the truth is, if you want to understand why some of the women behave the way they do on Real Housewives of Atlanta, I relate with a couple of them. You have to understand ACEs. To get kind of sensitive, if you want to understand why, I think it was about 6 days ago where a woman just was driving, shooting, and she unfortunately took the life of a 27-year-old woman in Pine Hills, I believe.
Yes, I saw that.
If you want to understand why that woman did that, then you have to be aware of ACEs. And that's going to be it probably could have been a lot other stuff going on with why the lady decided to just randomly shoot. But I guarantee you, if we looked into her childhood, we're going to see ACEs, right? And now let's think about the impact that it's going to have on that woman's children that have been left behind as a result of road rage, or the lady said she heard voices, or she thought people was following her. Those children that just lost their mother to that violent crime just accumulated 2 ACEs in one event. Violence, and I lost my mother. So now I bring that conversation up because it's right to Orlando. I don't know these people. I can only go off of what the news has put on the screen to make us look like, oh, it's just violent. This is mental health, mental wellness. I ain't gonna even call it health. This is like knowing that those 2 children that have been left without a mother right now, some nonprofit, I guarantee you, has already stepped in. The last I checked, GoFundMe had raised $11,000. Most of that be put towards making sure that those children have mental health access, mental health care, supportive relationships. You want to know why? Because the first 7 years of our life, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'm gonna also include when you're pregnant, both of those children that I saw in the picture look like they're under 7. This experience will follow them for the rest of their life. They're going to be 40 and they're going to remember exactly how it felt when they had to find out that somebody took the life of their mom on the way from the grocery store. They're going to remember what it smelled like wherever they were when they found out. They're going to remember what they saw, what they heard, what they felt. And until we start addressing these traumas before and after they happen, we're going to have children just like those children who just lost their mother growing up just mad at the world. Probably like that woman who did the shot. So can I share a quick graphic?
Yep.
On the screen?
Yes.
And I do have to disclose, y'all, I am not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I got a whole bunch of doctors and therapist friends that like help educate me. And my goal, just as like, you know, calling myself trying to be the messenger, is to, when I call it a party, is to part knowledge and to help people connect the dots and stop seeing violence and incidents in isolation. And I shared this chart for a couple of reasons. You can't necessarily see the adverse childhood experiences questions. There's 10 on that orange list that people see. But I want to highlight for nonprofit leaders and people who work in the community. At the very bottom of this graphic, there's a number 3 underneath the chin of this image. And that particular data point highlights that people who have adverse childhood experiences are 3 times more likely to be absent from work. So right now, think about those 10 employees that you may have if you own a nonprofit or if you run a nonprofit. If you have employees that have excessive absences, the first thing that the data tells you to think about is, are they stressed? Is something happening to them that is causing their insides, their nervous system, to react in a way that makes them feel like I can't go to work today? How unfair that the reason why the person that is 40, 50, 35, 27 years old can't show up for you because of something that happened in their childhood and they don't even know it. So when you become aware of ACEs, you start to look at people's behaviors differently, and not to make this a blanket thing to say that, you know, everybody with misbehavior must have ACEs, but I can tell you everybody with ACEs have had some behavior problems that they've had to address, whether manually through a therapist or doing their own work, that it just makes it makes environments that much better when people are making decisions with the trauma-informed lens in mind. Instead of thinking, I'm just going to write this employee up who continues to be absent from work, being more curious to know what is keeping this employee from being here on time or being at work. And so, yeah, it's a lot of bad news when you learn about ACEs. But the good news is, if you show up to an awareness party, you've already taken the first step. I repeat over and over again, y'all, things have been bad since the days of Genesis, chapter 1. They're not going to get any better as a whole, as long as, you know, there's so much for us to compete with, I'm going to say. So the best thing that we can do is to take our power back in our own hand and start to come to these circles and start to really invest in ourselves and understanding, like, if I really want to change what's happening in the landscape of whatever industry I'm serving, then the best thing I can do is to try to become as aware as I can about trauma and how the brain responds to fear and stress, so that I can be of service to others. And then I'm gonna finish this off by saying, I heard yesterday that there was a child that decided that took their life in Orlando. So it's I believe one of the Orlando public schools children, or maybe in a charter school. I don't have all the details. I just know I had a couple of sad friends yesterday because another child is gone right here in the Central Florida, took their own life allegedly, right? A sixth grader. I'm going to repeat, a sixth grader. If you look on the backside of this image, where the number 15 is, children with ACEs, and again, I'm not trying to say that the sixth grader that did this had ACEs, but the first thing we should be wondering is like, man, I wonder what was going on. That should always be our first question, instead of immediately passing judgment, because according to the data, and all these smart scientists from Yale and Harvard and Johns Hopkins and all these schools many of us could probably never afford to go to, 15 times more likely to commit suicide if your nervous system and your feeling of safety is being disrupted. You're 15 times more likely to take your life, because at this point your nervous system is like, bump this place, I'm out. Nobody should have to go through that, whether you're a child or an adult. And so this is why we encourage people to become aware of what ACEs are, and then become informed. And to become informed means you continue to invest in the conversation, invest in your time in the conversation. Because in my opinion, the lady that went around shooting cars until she finally took a life, and even the situation that happened just within the last 48 hours with the 6th grader, those people were seeking connection. And we preach at ACEs Matter that connection is the cure, right? We all need some sort of human connection. And if all the humans around me are responding in XYZ ways, then you're disconnected from our original source. So connection is cure. And the last thing I'll say on this situation, since we're talking about leadership and board development, our programs are wonderful, right? Like, we're going to always be in business as long as we're giving something away. And if you put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig. You put lipstick on a pig and it's still a pig. We have to address the pig at its core. And the pig at its core is us getting out of our comfort zone, being the adult that we needed when we were children, and then taking an active role in mentoring some of these children who unfortunately are growing up in environments where the adults in the home aren't ready to have this conversation. Because on the flip side of all these ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, are these things that they call positive childhood experiences. And these smart people at this school called Johns Hopkins University wrote and I'm gonna call it an op-ed, even though that's not really what it is. They did a research to counter the adverse childhood experience study by saying, even when kids are leaving the home with adverse childhood experiences, if these 7 things are happening simultaneously with the adverse childhood experiences, that child is going to have more hope to keep going, even in spite of the stuff that their eyes are witnessing. So positive childhood experiences, if you decide to invest in this conversation, is something you can become, so that children who are currently under the age of 18 have someone like you to turn to in the midst of all this stuff that we call hell on earth. So yeah, how was that sitting?
Cindy, you know, I'm always left speechless whenever on a call with you.
Melody.
Melody, let me go over to the chat. So Melody says, I need a copy of this graphic too. OMG powerful. Amen, Cindy. And Tanya said, what about people who overwork? Could that also be a behavior of ACEs?
It is, and I am currently under its influence. So people always ask, well, how do you, the word that I hear a lot, or the statement I hear a lot, well, what do you do about it? Or how do you heal from it? Or how you get over it, or something to that effect. Ain't no such thing as getting over it. Like, just flat out, trauma lives in the body. And to her question about the overwork, I'm going to be completely transparent. Although I've worked through some of my triggers, like not understanding why people in power do mean things, like that's a huge trigger for me, right? One of the ways that I cope, whether it's a maladaptive or adaptive, I work a lot. Like I work a lot, but but for me, it doesn't feel like work because I'm giving, like I'm helping people. So yes, overworking is a trauma response. And again, I think what's important for people to know when you think about understanding trauma inside of the body, it is the body looking for safety most of the time. Okay. And in my work response, what I've learned why I work so much is because it is my body wanting to correct for lack of a better word, do right with my wrongs. Like my ACEs caused me to do a lot of wrongs in my life and whatever. So
Mhm.
I think in a sense, this is my way of saying, hey, I know I hurt a lot of people along the way with some of the decisions that I made that were trauma informed. I saw a lot of trauma growing up. So my trauma informed decision, I was on the, what I like to tell people, the FYF plan when I left Lubbock, Texas. When I left Lubbock, Texas, I was on the FYF plan because of my ACEs, and the FYF plan was forget your feelings.
Mm.
Right? So when you have ACEs, you run people over, you lose all access to common sense thinking up here because nobody helped develop it. So you do mistreat a lot of people along the way. So all I have to say again, I think to a response, if you can find healthy ways to bring your body to safety, and I consider me work in healthy ways. I know what my limits are. I know when I need to turn off. My body will talk to me and let me know when it's had enough. But it's really about, you know, the healthy ways. And I have a reacher in my ACEs Matter Academy to her point about like the working stuff. She teaches women that no is a complete
Mhm.
sentence. So she's
Mm.
understanding ACEs, and she's also understanding that one of the side effects of ACEs is that when we don't have that connection in childhood, we people please, we will say yes to everything when we barely keeping up with our own stuff.
Mm.
We are people
Wow.
pleasers. We are people pleasers. We want to be accepted. We don't want to be judged. And so one of my reachers is using her platform, Understanding ACEs, to teach people that no is a complete sentence and you don't need an explanation. But in childhood, if you were not allowed to use the word no, even in defense of something, and your parents don't, who you telling no? You can't tell me no. So if you heard that a lot, that programmed how you perceived rejection.
Mm.
So it's so big. And I mean, obviously I'm trying to condense this down in 30 minutes, but I mean, there's a lot that goes into becoming trauma informed. The more you learn, the more informed you're going to be, and the more it starts to make sense.
Mhm.
And let me add this last thing. There's this new show that Deion Sanders, a former football player, he's now a football coach. I don't know if you recognize his name or not, but he has this new documentary out on Amazon Prime. And one of his players, because I am trauma informed, I can hear the players talking about what it means for them to leave the hood and like make it in football. They're really trying to, and Deion's pouring himself into these children, and the episode is being filmed out in Jacksonville, Florida, I think. Anyhow, one of the players, his name is Nugget. He clearly comes from the hood, and he's clearly using football to try to get out the hood and then go back and take care of his family. And in one scene, he says, I may be young, but my eyes are old.
Wow.
He said, I may be young, but my eyes are old. The stuff that I have seen makes me a lot older than I look. This is a 23, 22. Now, he probably not even that old because he's in college. Like, oh my goodness, how many kids
Wow.
have the eyes of a 50-year-old at the age of 5 because of the stuff that they see around them? That's what it means to be trauma informed and understand ACEs. So when I heard Nugget say that, it resonated with me so much because I realized Nugget's insides just want survival. And for him, survival is money. Because if I have money, I can go back out and pull my mom and them out, and they don't have to be around that. And that's all gravy. But guess what? Them ACEs in a suitcase, they going with you. So Nugget is disclosing all this stuff on this Deion Sanders documentary. And what Nugget doesn't even realize is that he's talking about his ACEs. The reason why you in your head when you on the football field is because of your ACEs. You hear those voices in your head from all that stuff you saw back when. This is why it's keeping you from being able to be your best on the field, because you're in your head, and ACEs get in our head. ACEs keep us from fulfilling our dreams. And so when people want to start nonprofits and start their business, you got to address your ACEs first. Otherwise, you're going to be in that same bucket of people where they say 3 out of 5 businesses fail within the first 5 years, whatever that number is, right? You got to get them ACEs out your head if you want to try to run a successful business or have successful employees. But that's my spiel. So yeah, I definitely hope people will be willing to join us in one of these awareness parties. Because that's step one.
Yep. And what I love too, in the awareness parties, not only talking about ACEs, but how you can help cure it. You go through those stages as to here's some things you can do. So it's not just like, oh, we got a problem, but it's like, yeah, we got the problem, but here's some way we can help, cure some of these experiences that we've had. Being able to unpack your suitcase,
Yeah.
in that situation. So that's why, if you all have not registered, please take a moment, register and share with someone who needs to be a part of these conversations. Like I said, invite your team, invite your board, invite them to come to these awareness parties, and just learn more, just to learn more and start the conversation within your organization on how you all can be more trauma aware, and trauma informed as a whole. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that link in the chat box again. Cindy, anything else that you would like to share before we wrap up today?
Yeah, let me allow people to screenshot this. If there's
Okay.
anybody still with us, screenshot this, because if thinking, planning, judgment, rational thought, culture, language, decision-making, and sense of self matter to you, then you'll be in one of these awareness parties. The opposite of thinking is not thinking. The opposite of planning is not planning. The opposite of judgment is judgment. The opposite of rational. So if you think about all the opposites of what you see on that screen right now, that's another reason to join the party. And then I want to close off by saying that whether you 5 or 50, if people experience ACEs, especially the more traumatic experiences that the body recorded, they're going to be stored. And I tell people that the cure is connection, plain and simple. The cure is connection. So whatever you are constantly connected with, that is curing, good or bad, what's happening in your nervous system. And so knowing that if you left childhood and the front part of your forehead work wasn't developed, because all that stuff that you see right here has to happen back here behind the forehead. That's where the genius is, right? You either using your genius for greatness or you using your genius to try to commit crimes. And either way it go, ACEs would have influenced that. So I tell people, if we ever wondering what was people thinking when they did XYZ, guess what? They probably weren't. Thinking is number one. Thinking is the first thing that goes when those connections in childhood don't happen. You can't perform from the back of your forehead, which is all where the smartness is. You can't. You're constantly in the animal stage. So if you have people around you acting like what you would say is animals and you can't understand why, you got to look at ACEs. That's it. I'm gonna leave the group with that. Hope y'all got a good screen share, a screenshot.
Yes, thank you, Cindy. So after tuning in, someone wants to reach out to you. They want to see how to bring these not only the awareness party, but also trainings and so forth to their nonprofit organization. How can they learn more and reach out?
The first thing is on the landing page of the very busy website, acesmatter.org. You can hire a trainer. You can book me to come in to start the conversation. I highly encourage people who are novice to this to hire somebody to come start the conversation. That way you can be a part of the conversation and not have to worry about the planning. When you hire me or anybody that I work with, we just ask that you show up and bring the people and we'll take it from there. We want you to be just as involved in the conversation. And so not having to worry about doing all the logistics and setup, just show up and be present. And then if you want to throw a party for yourself or your organization, you can do what Lashina did. You fill out the form and we can work something out. If for some reason, one of the free online public offerings that we do on the first Wednesday of the month, that's free and open to the public. But if you want one that's customized to the work that you do, you can hire me directly and we can work that out. And I don't necessarily have a boxed program to give people because I customize it based on the people you serve. So I love doing this. I love bringing people to this information. And you can never underestimate the power of planting the first seed.
Hmm.
You can never
That's
underestimate.
true.
People been trying to plant seeds in me, Cindy. You really started today. They got planted, and then all of a sudden, and when May 27th came along, the seeds finally created this tree. People
Huh.
plant seeds all the way, all throughout your life. So you can never underestimate the power of planting the seed. Whether it sticks today or if it sticks 5 years from now, you got to start planting the seeds now if we want the trees to start nurturing the neurons, which are all over. But most importantly, we need that forehead work. We need the forehead stuff to be working.
Love it, love it. Yes, check out Aces Matter. We dropped that link into the chat. Cindy, I always appreciate when you come on before we leave. So we like to leave with homework, and there has been plenty of tips shared throughout. So your homework is simple, is to come hang with us next week. Take some time out. Join us at the awareness party. You can register. The link is there. Once again, that's homework. Just go ahead and register. If you can't make it, come to our future ones, but also can we ask you to share it with someone else? And at least, even if it's someone within your organization, to be able to show up to this conversation and learn more about ACEs next week. So please register, share it, put it on your social media, share it. Please help us get the word out about it. And that's one way, we just sharing it alone. And that's what we ask when you come to these awareness parties. We ask that next time you come to the next one, bring some friends along with you, and let's just keep growing the conversation. And that's something that we can do at no cost to us. So please, invite others to join. We shared the information about acesmatter.org. Check them out if you want to bring this conversation to your organization and have it tailored to your organization. Definitely check it out. I truly believe that as nonprofit professionals, being aware of this helps us individually and also be able to serve better. And it kind of helps us serve with that ACEs lens in mind, having that compassion and so forth, being able to work with whoever your population for your nonprofit is. And I know for me, I had experience, and if I knew this information, I have years of experiences working with youth who I know experience these things, but genuinely I just love on them, and then see past those things. But everyone was not able to do that, and this would be something I would have definitely wanted them, like staff wise, to be educated on, so that we can all just love and nourish and water these kids, so that we can have strong, caring adults who are going to be taking care of us in the future. So y'all just please register, pass it on, and let's not let the conversation end today. So that's homework. Let's not just end it right here. Come to the awareness party. See how you can continue to share this. Invite others to come. Bring ACEs Matter out to do trainings for your organization. Put that into your plan. And how special is it when you're writing these applications to say that we, as part of our training plan, we educate our staff, or in our team, our volunteers, on our board, on adverse childhood experiences, on whether it's an annual, biannual, however you do that. But then what does that tell that funder? That you're trauma informed, right? So definitely think about how you can do and make ACEs a regular part of your training plan for your organization. And if you're at the point where you're like, I attended this overview, I just need to know more, again, come to the awareness party. That's why we're hosting these, to give you more, give you the whole, you'll hear the whole background on how ACEs started, how it came from, and then also the science behind ACEs, what it looks like to have those positive experiences, which always melts my heart. So make sure that you come in and tune in, and that way you can see, this is why I need to bring to my organization, so we can be, and overall, so we can be stronger as a community as a whole. So Cindy, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. One team, one score. One team, one score.
Yes,
One
love
team.
it.
That's it.
Yep.
Thank y'all for watching. I see that we've already got some people that have registered. Them things was popping up. So good job.
Yay!
The CIA, come to the party. Come to the
We'll see
party.
y'all next week at the party. Awesome. Well, thank you all. So we'll see y'all next week at the party. I'm so excited to see you all there and just continue this conversation. And continue to bring friends, share it, and we'll see you next week at the party, y'all. All
6
right.
p.m. sharp
Bye,
next week.
everyone.
Bye.
Next week. Bye, everyone.